think so. You guys are looking good. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Make Trades Great Again podcast. Eric Awney, joined by Denver Baker, and of course, as always, the fabulous Andy Mickelson. How you doing, guys?
Hello.
Doing well. How are you guys?
Andy
Doing
just
good.
froze on us just like that. Oh,
I did?
There we go.
No.
No, we're good. It's probably me.
It's that Starlink. Elon's ass after an upgrade.
Actually, speaking of Elon, did you hear today? It was just announced. Elon and Zuckerberg, they're going to fight.
It's
yeah,
like
it's
just like MTV deathmatch.
It's official. So it's going to be streamed on Twitter, X, whatever you call it now.
You know, it used to be, I used to cheer for that guy, and I'll be honest with you, I don't anymore.
Yeah.
I think, and it's not politics by any means.
Yeah, no.
I think it's just the more you get to know someone.
Yeah.
I think for a while I was just enamored by the success, the guy, like the craziness to think that just like, hey, this guy started PayPal and then boom, he's got rockets. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Shooting a Tesla into outer space.
Yeah, exactly. And so like I was always enamored by the guy, but now I feel less that way, I guess.
I feel like Zuckerberg just looks like kind of like a robot, though. He looks like Data from Star Trek to me for some reason. I don't know.
That guy's legit. Like he does jujitsu though.
He does.
He'd probably kick my butt. That's what I'm thinking.
I'd be out of breath immediately for sure.
Yeah.
So it is going to be like a death match, like cage style.
They're doing a cage match, and it's going to be at these. Well, they haven't picked a place to house it yet, but the UFC said that they could do it at the Apex there in Nevada, and so it's going to be live streamed on Twitter, X, whatever you call it, and all the money that they collect from it is supposed to go to some veteran charity. So it was just announced I don't know, a couple hours ago. So
I think it'll be like the All-Star game,
Yeah.
like the NHL All-Star game where basically it's just like Disney on ice. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like the Jake Paul fights that have been happening lately. The YouTuber guy fights, the boxing stuff.
Horrible, not any good.
Oh my gosh, it's terrible. It's so hard to watch. It's so hard to watch.
I don't get into that stuff, but you work for it.
Oh man.
Well, so today it's interesting. You brought up Elon Musk because we're going to talk about. I'm just kidding. No, we're not. You hear us talk, Denver, on at the end of every episode. Hey, send us your ideas, that kind of thing. And you want to hear us talk about something, send us a message. And we read all those messages, and a lot of them come in, and they're not like big, like, hey, we want a whole episode on this, or what do you think? It's just a lot of ideas in addition to some really great topic ideas, but a lot of conversation goes about and I've talked to Andy about it many times off the air, but with you on and Andy, I'd like to get your take on just a handful of different things. So one of them, and kind of first and foremost, like day to day, just logistics.
Mm-hmm.
I know years ago, Andy, or for maybe a better way to put it, 4 years, you did with your techs, you would meet at the supply house and fulfill like a material list when each day. Right. And that was kind of how you structured and started your day each week. Is that right?
Yeah. I think at that time it made the most sense to me anyway. It may not have made sense to anybody else, but it made the most sense to me to be able to go meet with my crew in the morning and say, hey, here's what I want you to, here's what you're going to go do. We didn't have a great platform for saying, here's some pictures that the customer sent. Here's all the customer's information. I mean, when I hired my first employee, we started into I don't even remember what it was called, into this software program similar to HCP. That's called, right? Not anywhere near what it's capable of, but it was basically a mobile invoicing app that was phone based, and it was super crude. And we took off, and we're like, yeah, this is gonna be great. And I started like 30 days before my first employees started. I started on it, got all the back end stuff done. Spent, nights and weekends basically, cranking through it. And like 3 days after the first guy I hired started with me, I get a call from him. Well, like halfway through the day, he's like, "Hey, I can't get into the invoice thing." I'm like, "Oh, what are you
Oh,
talking about?" "Oh, that's weird, And I grab my phone and I'm looking. And I was out in the field working in the field at that time too. And I look and I can't get into it either. I'm like, "What the heck?" I
yeah.
must not have made a payment or something.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't know. I must have screwed something up. And I'm like, "All right, we'll just do it the old fashioned way. Just write it down. We'll mail them a bill." And at that time, we weren't collecting on site anyway. So, I mean, it was all, we were invoicing everything.
Yeah.
So I'd get all his information at the end of the day, and then we'd mail a bill.
Yeah.
And so it made sense at that time to meet daily and say, "Okay, I'm going to take the paperwork and any checks and cash that you got yesterday. I'm going to take that. And then we're going to talk about what you're going to do today." And it just made sense. And as I added another guy, it also made sense at the time
Yeah,
to
you were
do it
in that
like that.
groove. That was just how
Yeah,
you were doing it.
this is
Yeah.
how we do it, and you
Yeah.
go in and you over a cup of coffee or whatever at the supply house counter, and we order our parts, and all three of us went about our merry way. And I think the advent of a new software technology. So to go back one step, the software company that we were using, like 3 days later, so like 3 or 4 days after it quit working, it still wasn't working. And I'm like, "What the heck?" So I call this company. I finally find the 800 number. I call, I get nothing.
Oh
There's
no.
nothing
Went
there.
out of
And I'm like,
business.
"Yeah, they went out of business."
Oh man.
And
Oh,
they folded up.
Jeez.
And it was just like that. And I was just like, "What the
That
heck?" And I start
sucks.
digging through my email, and here in my spam mail was a letter or a notice from them saying, "Hey,
30
FYI,
days you're
we're
up. Yeah.
on this date, we're no
Man.
longer going to be in business. Where our databases will be shut down." And luckily, we only had 3 days worth of business on there. But
Well, but
that
real quick, how long did you do that? Like, just like, how long did you continue to meet at the supply house? And then ultimately, what was it that changed? Why did you stop doing that?
well, I think what ultimately stopped doing it is we switched over to a new invoice software within a month. Because you don't switch this stuff quickly,
Yeah.
and you
No, it
certainly
takes
don't
time
jump
for
in.
sure.
I looked at a couple of them at the time, and I mean, we're talking this had been, I don't know, 2015, something like
Yeah,
that time frame.
right.
So I mean, it wasn't like it is today, where you could be like, "Hey, I'm going to
You
do a
pretty
demo
much
with
throw a
this."
rock. Yeah,
Yeah, and
try a
so
new one.
trying to find something that integrated with QuickBooks, and did this and worked on an iPhone or worked on an Android. It was, yeah. Anyway, I guess to answer your question, we probably did that for 2 or 3 years,
Yeah,
I would guess. And at some point in there, it became clear to us as the owners, Cheryl and I, that it wasn't really necessary. We did it, and we could do it at that point with the software we were using just by updating the notes. And we were starting to use this group text, where it was, Cheryl and I and one of the guy, each guy, so we all had our own group text. And that way it was like, hey, we just forward a picture and everything was fine. And at some point it just dawned on us that this isn't beneficial. I mean, it's got benefits. I mean, you can never say that having a face-to-face meeting and getting hey, how was, your kid's birthday party over the weekend or whatever. I mean, that kind of stuff is important. That's the side of it that I wish I could do that daily
Yeah.
to keep that in-person touch with the guys. But the rest of it, I mean, having a conversation about what it is that we're going to do every day. I mean, largely, I'm going to say right now I have a crew of guys that can look at a paragraph and go, "Yeah, I know what to do."
Yeah.
I don't need to explain what the paragraph means. I mean,
Right.
they know they're good at what they do. They,
yeah.
get a couple of pictures and go, "Oh, I got to put a gas line in. Okay, it's going to go from there to there." All right.
Yeah, easy peasy.
I don't need to explain that.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah. Well, technology, like you said, has changed. And I suppose with the new software we've been running now for a couple of years, isn't it?
Yeah.
Has it been 2 years?
A year and a half now. Yeah, it was a year in March.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been on I think 2 years now. Yeah.
Yeah.
2 years in February, I think it was, something like that. So
Nice.
Yeah. So like having the ability to do like better communication with that and have, there's so many more tools available. I look at it and I think like, so my old shop that I worked for a million years ago, we've talked about this many times too. So, but I'll keep it brief. Like most guys would drive the vehicle home. Yeah.
mhm.
I think everybody did actually, maybe unless somebody had a driving issue. And then most days they would drive to the shop
Yeah.
and like load up. For anybody listening, I'm doing air quotes. You
Yeah.
know, the loading up, the restock. I look at that and I think of the amount of times I did that where I absolutely needed to do that. Like I
Yeah.
needed materials that they were not going to be able to get to me on time.
Right.
And then I look at, which was significant, but then I think of the amount of time we stood around and we talked about fishing and
Yeah.
this or that. And it was just like, and we started our time when we got to the shop. Like there's no doubt about
Oh yeah.
the face to face us guys had out in the
Oh, yeah.
shop, like in the back, like, and we're talking over 30 people. So you can imagine the
Yeah.
amount of money.
Oh yeah.
That, I mean,
Every
that
single time,
is
yeah.
insane.
Well, that's how when I started in it. This is when I started when I was 13 working for my dad, and so the way he had it set up was it was an assembly line every morning. So my grandfather worked for my dad, and he ran the warehouse, and we had a barcode system. Okay. And so you would every day at the end of the day you'd write your inventory on a check sheet, and then you'd come in and there'd be groups of two, just two guys to a truck. Everybody would go in and hand their ticket to my grandfather, and he would go through and he would pick everything, and then they would help as well. We would go in and help him grab whatever, but then he would scan it, and our barcode system was tied in directly to our supplier. So every time we were scanning stuff off of the shelves, it would put a pick ticket, and then we would get deliveries every other day, and they would just keep stocking our shelves. So we had almost like our own distributor type thing at our shop, and it was nice, but it was weird because you'd have to stagger it because we had so many, or my dad had so many guys. We had 52 guys there, so we're just staggering everything. The amount of time
he only had one grandpa.
Yeah, exactly, and he's not exactly fast, so it was, I don't know, it took forever doing it that way. But I've always been the type where it's always start at the shop, everybody drives the truck home, and then always start at the shop the next day kind of deal. And we still do it pretty much to this day. I have obviously my one technician. He will drive his van home, and we'll usually start the day here at the shop, and then we'll go from there. But sometimes, if it's a day I'm doing estimates or whatever, I'll have the whole day already set up for him. It's like you just go to your first call. Don't worry about coming to the shop unless you need something.
I think the only way you can get fully away from that starting like that kind of model, either it's a shop or the supply house or whatever, is you have to get to a delivery. You have to have a shop staff with a truck.
We used to have that,
even if it's just one person.
Yep.
That can distribute. Probably, I guess if it's one person, it's pretty minimal how much time they're going to be.
We had it just
materials back and forth,
just for service. Like, so we'd have our service guys, and they would, be out running calls. Well, say they say, hey, I need a blower motor. It's a specific blower motor they didn't have on their truck. We would tell them, go to the next job, start that job. We will send the parts kid. He will drop the blower motor at the house, and then you can circle back and replace it same day, or we'll put it on for next day and go from there as far as that. Right. But then you'd have a lot of doubling back. So if you had a guy who had, say, 5 calls on for that day, well, then you could potentially, if you didn't have that part, turn them into 9 to 10 calls if that was the random case that he didn't have that part.
Well, it's always going to be the case too, where you don't have
everything,
everything you need. That doesn't matter how big you are. You know, you can be small like me.
Yep.
Smallish like you guys, where, you know, like you're just you can't stock everything. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. No.
And you're going to get to a point where you have to move on. Like you said, like, I know, Andy, you guys are doing that all the time.
All the time.
Like, it's just
I've-
regular. It's
Yeah.
it's not significant to how you're running your business. So it's just literally how it happens because
Just the
of
way.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where
You
I
have
was,
to be flexible and move on. At least you've
Yeah.
got the beauty of it, really, ultimately, if you can put a positive note on it, which doesn't help the bottom line. But the beauty of it right now, or the only positive thing, is that you've got so much work piled up that it's not like, oh my God, we don't have that part. We can't even, you guys got to go home because we don't have any more work for, you know, like that could,
Right. Yeah. That would suck.
that could really, you know,
it grinds.
rub people the wrong way too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just your customer, obviously, but
Yeah.
Well,
True.
and that was Friday afternoon. I was, you know, again, and I think Eric, you and I had talked about this. I don't know, maybe it was the day before. Just kind of got in a foul mood late Friday afternoon.
yeah,
Was not just, you know, like, God dang it, I can't get. I mean, and and not anything that my guys were doing.
yeah,
We for the last 2 weeks have gone absolutely balls to the walls and grinding hard, and we've got a lot of stuff installed. And you know, I guess not. I shouldn't say just the last 2 weeks, for the last couple of years, and and just here in the last 2 solid weeks, we've got about $125,000 worth of work that in 3 projects that is not done.
Yeah.
And it's like 98% complete, all 3 projects.
that's
one of them
stressful too.
I've got to get back over to get an inspection done. This was the asbestos inspection that we talked about. So now the asbestos inspection's been done. I'm waiting for the city to approve my permit. Now that the job's done, I can get my permit approved and pay for it, which is just crazy.
I love
And then we'll go get the inspector to go look at it, and then we'll be able to take the gas test off and fire the thing up.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, God, why? I mean, this is crazy, you know, and you start dwelling on that stuff. And I wind myself up more than anything else. And I'll get, you know, frustrated. We were at a job where we were doing 4 of those Mitsubishi SVZ air handlers on a 5-ton smart multi. Nice job.
That's the one with the spit that had the space back that you took out.
Yeah, exactly. And I get there on Friday and we're like, heck yeah, electrical. We're going to knock the electrical out. We're going to have the thing under a pressure test, because we were waiting on the electrician on another job that we were installing.
Right.
You know, so we'd been there all week and the electrician didn't show up, and now he's not coming until tomorrow.
Jeez.
You know, so it's like, God dang it. Okay, well, we can't do startup on that. System's charged, ductwork's done. I mean, it's ready to go.
Yeah.
We just got to do startup. And I get to the job and I'm like, yeah, this is cool. I got 3 guys there, right? Like on a whim, Friday afternoon, all of a sudden, you know, stuff's like falling apart. And I'm like, nope, send everybody to this job.
Yeah.
We're just going to go
start it, get everything done. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got all the line voltage electrical done between the branch boxes, and got the units all tied in, and got all the communication wiring done, and finished the last couple of refrigeration lines, got a nitrogen test on it. And I'm like, sweet, we are getting stuff done. And I'm digging through this box of controls, and we've got these, we're using these, IDO, I think it's AIDOO. And it's a third-party control interface that links up with Mitsubishi.
Okay.
Basically gives you like a web interface. It's kind of like Kumo Cloud, but allows you to use like a T10 thermostat.
Okay. Yeah.
And this particular job is goofy because first stage of heat is radiant floor.
Right.
And then we'll have cooling. And then second stage of heat will be the heat pump.
Right.
So it's kind of backwards of most scenarios.
Yeah, exactly.
You want the radiant floor to be primary. Yeah. And so we're using these T10s, and I'm like looking in the box. I'm like, wait a minute. I've got 2 different styles of this IDO controls interface. And call the vendor, and they're like, oh, well, yeah, those aren't the same. That one, these 2 here aren't going to do what you want.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you set a couple out on the shelf. I'll just work a little late and I'll come grab them. He's like, no, we don't have any. And he's like, we got some on order. And I'm like, oh my gosh, serious.
That's
So
the
like, how
worst.
long? And he's like, well, they're out in Tacoma, so it's going to be like 3 days. And I'm like, after the week, it'll be here like Tuesday, Wednesday. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, God dang it, And so they've been sitting there on site for 2 weeks.
Man.
But you
and
didn't
I'm
know
like,
they were wrong.
yeah, somebody
Yeah.
pulled them wrong.
Right.
Just
That's the worst.
You're
I
like,
had that happen just the other day. It was a scenario where it was more my fault, but kind of not situation. We were doing a mini split job, and this just happened on Thursday. And so I went into the house for the estimate. I gave this lady, this was the last estimate, so it was her 6th estimate, trying to figure
What?
everything out. So yeah, it's like going back and forth. So I'm already got a bad taste in the mouth of that.
Yeah.
Well, then when I went in the house, looked everything over, she's got a boiler, so she wants air conditioning. I told her, let's not just look at just air conditioning. Let's quote something with, another source of heat, just in case, your
Just back up.
your ancient boiler fails and, whatever. So we go through everything and we finally decide on ceiling cassettes. And so I'm like, all right, that's fine. Here's the quote for that, blah, blah. She got a reference from somebody else that I put ceiling cassettes in for. She liked the look of them. She saw them in person. So I said, yeah, we can do that. Here's the price, yada, yada, yada. Well, when I did the first initial estimate, I didn't go up in the attic. Most attics are, it's a standard regular house. I would have thought 24 on center. That was not the case. And so it was 16 on center. And these cassettes, they're 20 inches wide.
They're monstrous.
20 by 20. Yeah. So to boot, I get there and I was going to the supply house. They were supposed to have the order there for me to pick it up. They accidentally marked it as a delivery. So they were delivering it all the way across town to my shop.
Oh,
and so I'm like,
talk about this.
Yeah. So it's like, well, I'm here. I need it now.
Yep.
And they don't have it. They had to transfer it in the day before. The transfer trucks run on Wednesdays. So I'm there on Thursday morning picking everything up that's not there. So then I say, well, just have the driver come to the job site. We'll go from there. So I get to the job. Homeowner's like, oh, where's all the equipment at? Well, there was a little issue with delivery, blah, blah, blah. So that started off kind of a little bit bad. Then I called the electrician and I texted him the photos. And I said, hey, here's the panel, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, that's maxed out. She needs a 40 space and blah, 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 blah. Like, okay. So I'm like, how much is this going to be? So he's like, it's going to be like at least $1,600. So on top of the quote for running the electrical for the outdoor unit. So I bring her down and say, hey, here's where we're at for this. She's like already freaking out because she's, trying to save money. Well, then get that done. She's in meetings the whole time on the computer. She works from home. So I'm like standing there because I at that point then gone up into the attic and saw that it was 16 on center. And I'm like now sitting there in the living room. I can't do anything. So I'm like just hanging out. And I'm like, all right, so I know I just told you that this happened, but now this happens. So now we can't do the cassettes. We got to switch to what I was thinking before. Let's do a floor mount here and a high wall over here. So then ended up the whole job. She said, let's just pause. Let's put it on hold for now. And then we'll go from there. So everything's sitting over there in the shop right now to be returned.
What time of day was it when you got the pause?
So I got there at 9 a.m. and then we were done and packed up and left by, I think it was 11:30, something like that. So then we were like, well, we can't really do anything else now. We've kind of thrown I had planned the job for 2 days, like Thursday, Friday, and then that was it. So it's like, well, let's go to lunch and then I'll just figure something else out. We called it a day after that. And then we figured, move stuff around to do things on Friday.
The whole delivery thing, it does happen, and that sucks. At least you got to be able to move forward, though. Like,
and that's what I told her. I said we can do this job. I can get the skinny ones that can fit in a 16-inch, the one-way cassettes. Like I can have them Wednesday of this coming week.
Yeah.
And I said, so we can keep the job rolling, and we'll put the condenser in. We'll run line sets. We'll get everything done, and we'll just slip the single skinny cassettes in after. No, we're going to move this one wall, and I don't like it being 50 inches long and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay. So
yeah,
I gave her deposit back, and we're on hold till at least September.
Sometimes it's so much easier just to cut your loss and be like, okay.
It is. Yeah.
All right.
We're done.
Well, hold on.
If
let me go ahead. Sorry.
I was just say if they call back, great.
Yep.
And if
So
they
she's got
don't
6
call
other
back,
estimates, so she'll
if
pick one.
Yeah, if they don't call back, so long as they don't leave you a bad review about how you were disorganized and
Exactly.
whatever, then fine, whatever, life goes on.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Eventually, you got to either deal with it or live with it. One of the two. Yeah. Delivery, though. So, like, you guys are talking about, you're starting at the shop, and Andy, that's kind of changed for you. Of course, I started the shop because the shop's at my house, but
Right.
the delivery thing. So, like, I try to get everything that is larger than a box I can carry with two hands, delivered to my job.
Okay.
But if I've got time to prefab or do, that's kind of a case by case. But you know what I've found out? I bet you in the past year, it's not really any different year after year. I bet you I go into the wholesale house less than 10 times in a year.
Yeah.
And it's probably more, it's realistically like 5-6 times, I bet.
Yeah.
But I'm not counting. So I'm just guesstimating that. But you know what? I hate going because it's just time lost. Nobody's ever paying me to run and get parts. It's just, I don't care how you try to, I guess there's not a line item for me to get paid for that. It's built into my cost in certain instances.
Yep. Right.
Like I know how much it cost me to even get the water heater for that flat rate price for me to, so I can figure out that flat rate price. But
yeah,
I don't, that shouldn't ever include me going to buy it myself or pick it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the amount of times I've had like couriered, parts couriered to me, which is like super common here. A couple of my suppliers do it just literally all day long, all the time. And it's just,
it'd be nice if we had that.
It's affordable. You should, I don't know why you don't though. I don't know why you might, maybe you need to talk to your supplier or anybody listening.
The way that they do it for us is, and the way I typically do it as well, is I don't even talk to the distributors, like call them. I just do everything online. Like I have two suppliers that are my main two, Carrier and Johnstone.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. And so I place the order, and then for Johnstone, for example, I get all my service parts and most of my some ductwork from Johnstone, and they deliver Tuesdays and Fridays. They will not, unless you spend a certain amount of money with them, they won't even really do a job site delivery unless it's something like a rooftop or something like that. They'll do that. But Carrier does it where I get all my equipment from them, and they just do it Tuesdays, Thursdays. They come to my shop, and it's the same scenario. They just say, no, we'll just, unless they screw up like they did.
What I'm talking about is not equipment. It's not, I mean, it could be if I wanted it, if I truly had to have a boiler run out.
Right.
For, I guess one time I think I've done that.
Yeah.
Maybe. It's parts and pieces. It's a gas valve for that standing pilot boiler that I had no idea or even thought I was going to be working on this year. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And, but you'd be surprised that like our suppliers are just using like, was it like Priority, which is I think it's even a nationwide like franchise kind of courier service. Maybe they don't have them in your area, but you have these services though, like there's no doubt that you have local courier services because that's literally how like every law office exists on couriers. Like it's just the way it is. But my suppliers are just using them to move material around faster and at a price I pay for it,
Right. Yeah.
But there's no way, like I don't pay, I think a 2 hour, as far as I am from, let's say, Good and Supply, which is in Minneapolis, as far out as I am, let's say I'm 20 miles north of me, that's a good hour drive for the one way for that courier. I think it costs like $88 or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Like you couldn't drive to the supply house for that amount of money. And I don't care who it is that's working for you to do that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
And so just the idea to be able to get that kind of stuff. I bring it up because it's just another tool. Maybe it's not truly not available, but I bet you, well, if you saw the value in it that I do, I could probably convince you to convince your sales guy to get it on board for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, for sure.
I need you to do this, and here's
Yeah.
why. You know.
So if you were going to order a bag of 1-inch Vega 90s, press 90s,
Yep.
right?
Same cost as if I ordered 100 bags, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. So long as it fits in a box or in their vehicle.
Yeah, I think there might be some price
dimensions,
ranges depending on like dimensions. Like, like if I had to have like a truck come with a piece of pipe, I think that's different than if I had the guy who usually shows up in like a Prius.
Right.
With the company logo on the side,
Right.
or what they use a lot. I see a lot more now are like the Transit Connect or the small, the small Nissan / Chevy, whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
That's perfect though. Like, what if you're like, well, and what I'll do is I'll take advantage of it and be like, well, I guess I know I'm going to call him in the next 20 minutes to order this stuff, right?
Right.
As long, in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to make this call. Why don't I walk through the back of my van real quick and just start pulling my bins out? What's in my 1-inch box of press fittings? What's in my crap? I'm low on 1/2-inch mega press,
Right.
And then I'll just because I just gotta rattle off the stuff either into the app or to the person on the other line. So I'm just taking advantage of it. It's a lot of times it is to answer a problem that came up, and it wasn't like I'm not prepared, and sometimes it is. But it's some more so it's the, like the no heat calls and stuff like that, where you're like, well, I need this part and I don't have it. But I can get it in the next 2 hours. That could make a big difference for somebody on a Friday going into the weekend,
Yeah. Are your guys' suppliers, do they stay open on Saturdays?
No.
Ours don't.
I have one that's open Saturdays till noon.
Okay. Yeah. Johnstone here used to do that, and then now they don't. They all have a you can open them up
After
for
hours.
$100 or $150 or whatever it is, but
which is dirt cheap too, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, I bring it up just for anybody listening. Maybe just look into it. Ask your supplier. We're like, hey, do you do this? Because, and if they don't, then you should start a business doing it. I'm just kidding.
Well,
I know if people have tried that.
Yeah, there's that app that they have now. What's it called? Blue On.
Yeah.
And they
Blue On, yeah.
Yeah, they supposedly do delivery now and stuff. That like there's only one supply house that's on Blue On here, and it's Ferguson, just because they're on it nationally. And but I don't really get much from Ferguson. I get some stuff. I'll get water heaters occasionally and some piping.
Did you know you can order on your phone and pull up and they'll have it sitting there for
the pro pickup? Yeah, like your video.
See my video
your video, yeah.
Okay, I'm not giving them any more commercials.
Yeah, I commented on it because it. Every time I go to place an order, it's in stock. It's in stock. We got it. And then I show up and I order 20, and it's like, we only had 10. Awesome.
Yeah. Computer was wrong.
Thanks. I'm glad I drove across town.
Yeah, this is awesome. I drove an hour here, so thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Next question. We're doing these logistics here.
Q&A.
Not maintenance, but first washing and cleaning out the vehicle and stuff like that. Does your tech do they get paid to do that? And when do you expect them to do it?
Sometimes.
Quick answers.
Yes.
Sometimes they get paid. What does that mean?
I typically tell our tech, like me, I'm the worst because I'll say like, I'll clean it out this weekend. I'll do it this weekend. And then it gets to the weekend and it's like, I don't want to do that. I'm horrible about that. And so then Monday, I always spend the Monday morning, cleaning everything out, cleaning the trailer, switching things around. And I need to get better on that. But yes, as far as when our technicians are cleaning their trucks, yes, we pay them for it.
Yeah.
And so I say that sometimes. We don't schedule time for it. It's almost always hey, they're done it. I'm all wrapped up. It's 3:45. All right, you got 45 minutes. Go take care of the trash. Put those parts away from that you picked up earlier. Put your stock order in. Whatever. Hit the car wash. One of the best things that I've bought. One of the easiest purchases I've bought in the last couple of years is the Milwaukee M12 blower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
is weak enough that for most applications, it's not. It doesn't move enough air. But for blowing out the back of the van
Yep.
is absolutely amazing.
Perfect. Yeah.
Open the
Right,
doors up,
right.
get in there, and just let her rip.
Yep.
And you can blow rocks out and blow the dust out and, sheetrock bits and whatever is in there. And it just, if you can do that once a week or more,
It's huge. It's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you got 10 minutes, I mean, you jump in the back of Rob's van right now, and Rob's, always, I know that he does it a lot more off the clock than he does on the clock.
Right.
But he's also one of those guys that's very, very detail oriented about all of his stuff's dialed in. Back of the van's always clean, front of the van's always clean, and his job, his work reflects that too. Yeah. But he's all real good about hey, I'm done at 3:30 or whatever, and I'm going to get gas and I'm going to hit the car wash. And so I've always told the guys, if they need to come out, there's a pressure washer at the shop, there's soap, foam gun, whatever. If you want to come out and do it there, I don't care. If you want to go to the power wash and do it, run it on the company card. I mean, we're paying for everything, but they are expected to figure out how to keep that up. Yeah. And we try to afford them the time to do it, but sometimes it's not always there, especially when it's in the winter time. I mean, it's like,
yeah,
you gotta be hitting the car wash once a week.
Yeah.
All right.
Get the salt off. Yeah.
So
on the car topic, smoking in vehicles.
No.
Negative.
Nope. Not allowed.
100% no.
Nope.
Not allowed. I don't blame you for a bit. I don't think it should be allowed at all. Like to be, and that's not, no, I don't think it's even an option.
No, we've never allowed it, never will. We don't allow smoking on the jobs. Like if I had a guy that started with us and we told, expectations, hey, no smoking, because we knew he was a smoker. You could smell it on him. And so I get to the job and I think we're changing a PRV or something on a boiler. And so he's out in the guy's driveway, and he lights up a cigarette in the back of the van, standing in the driveway at the back of the van. I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, yeah, sorry. And it's like, dude, now you're going to go into their house and it's going to smell, your reflection of yourself is also us in front of these customers. So we don't allow it. We don't allow it even on new construction jobs.
I don't blame you.
I think a lot of job sites have basically just banned it altogether.
I used to be a smoker. And then I switched over to dipping, and it's the best thing I've ever done to stop doing that. I quit years ago, like 10 years ago. And it's good to not do it for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
On the vehicle side, maintenance and repair. So like, I bring this up because, I want to hear your take on it first.
Mm-hmm.
Van needs brakes.
Yep.
And your guy says, "Oh, I'll do that this weekend." Do you let him do it?
Absolutely not.
Too much of a liability.
Right.
Yeah. We have a guy that does all of our work. He's done all of our trucks for years, unless it's one of our big box trucks, which we don't have any big box trucks anymore, but we did have a 20-foot box truck. And
like
so he couldn't work on that. And so everything else he'll work on. And then same thing with oil changes. We have a different company that's all they do. It's like a Jiffy. Well, it used to be a Jiffy Lube, but now it's his own company. He drops the franchise. So we have a fleet account, and we just tell the guys if it's your responsibility. If you're in TC, Traverse City, just stop by if you need it and get it done. And it's a fleet account. They don't have to pay anything. They'll just send us the bill. But yeah, I just
tell my guy to go to the dealership because they have the quick lane, and that's what he does.
That's what he does.
I bring it up because, believe it or not, so this gentleman, he was my journeyman years ago, a super awesome guy. Mm-hmm. He's still around. He's just retired within the last year or two, and he would, and without fail, that van needed brakes, he'd do them on the weekend. That van needed a wheel bearing, he'd do it. And like somehow the company just like would pay his time and like the parts, and like I think like, why in the world?
What?
I think the first time that you have a warranty claim, what are you gonna do? You're like,
Hey,
Like,
John,
dock their
you
pay
suck.
or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
How are you even going to handle that?
I
It doesn't
should-
even make sense.
I should say though, we did have it. We had one guy that worked for us. He's my dad's like really good friend, best friend. He lives 3.5 hours from our shop. And this is when we had the commercial crew that would go all over the state.
Yeah.
And so he does have he's got a full lift in his garage, all that. So he would do brakes or like change a tire or something small like that. We'd let him do that, but that was only because he lived so far away and we didn't have access to other known mechanics that we knew their work downstate. So,
Sure.
with him, we would let him do it. He's a master mechanic. He's, all that stuff. So I'd say no, but in a way we did allow it at one time, but that was only for a certain situation, certain person. I would never allow anybody else to do it.
I don't even change my own oil.
Nope.
I don't
anymore.
know. I don't.
You know what I mean?
No, I don't do it.
The last time I did my own brakes, and I've worked on things, probably like you guys have, for my entire life since I was 12,
Right.
tinkered with mechanics, fixing a lawnmower or whatever.
Sure.
And the last time I did brakes was on my 2016 GMC, and it ended up in an entire weekend endeavor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't
and
get the rotors off.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Everything's seized
broke a
up.
bolt in the caliper.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Just
It's not worth it.
And I'm
The
just
caliper
like,
won't bleed. Yeah. All
Yep.
kinds of stuff.
Exactly.
and I spent all weekend, and then Sunday night finally I was like, this is where it's at, and ended up having to have the truck towed down to the truck shop, and it was a pain in the ass
Yeah.
from the very beginning. And I spent the entire weekend saving $1,000.
Yeah.
I didn't save anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not even
Yeah.
a bit.
Yeah.
Because I took it down there and I get it down to my local mechanic. As soon as our rigs are out of warranty, they go to we had a guy that has done our
local
work,
shop.
Crawford's.
Yeah.
Yep, little mom and pop shop. I think his dad may have started it. Chase is running it now. Just solid dude, busy.
Yeah.
So I hate calling him and being like, "Hey, I'm going to drop this off." But he's always been that too. Where if I call him, I'm like, "Hey, man, I've got," when we had the Nissans, I'm like, "I got a whatever vent valve code going on. Can I bring it by?" And he's like, "Bring it by. We'll take care of it.
Yeah.
I'll bump somebody out. We'll get you back on the road." And he was always good about that.
Yeah.
And now that I've got all the Fords and they're all under warranty, it's like they're going to the dealership.
Yeah.
We're not.
Well, a lot of these
game.
vehicles too, you can't even. They're so computerized. I mean, it's almost
Yeah.
becoming a point where you have to be a dealer of that specific brand
Yep.
because you have the specific tool, just like a service checker for VRF stuff.
Sure.
You have to have that specific one, and if you don't have it, you're not doing anything.
You're not working on it.
There's whole there's whole like lobbying and everything. I know state of Minnesota. I shouldn't even bring this up because I don't remember the name of it, but it's basically like there is legislation in the works all over the country to ban that kind of situation to where
tactic.
I forget what it's called. Forgive me, anybody listening. The terminology has just left my brain right now.
Yeah.
Right.
But
it's like to
that's a big
eliminate
deal.
OEM.
Well, it's a big deal. Like, so
Yep.
like you buy a John Deere tractor, and let's say you go buy a Kubota, loader
Mhm.
or backhoe, and they're like, well, you have to use us no matter
Yeah,
what.
you're locked
cat
into
or
us,
whatever.
and, yeah.
Like that's it.
We set the price.
Your cat is your monthly service fee on this, is going to be $1,000. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And
we bought this extended warranty service plan, extended warranty on this 2016 Chevy Colorado we've got,
Mhm.
and bought it from Alithia. And the guy's like, "Oh yeah, this is great. Like $1,800, lifetime oil changes, and we'll take care of the air filter and we'll check differentials and whatnot. You just bring it in and whatever, and we'll get it taken care of. Get your oil changed, and when it's due, so long as it's within like 300 miles of the due date, or the date or the
mileage.
And I'm like, perfect. $1,800. you know what, we're planning on having this rig for a couple, 10 years or something like that. That'll be great. We take it in the very first time, and I'm like, yeah, this is going to be awesome. Roll up to the quick lit line, and they're like, oh, okay. They're like, oh, have we done this before? I'm like, nope, just bought it here like 4 months ago. We're at the mileage. And he's like, okay, blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, you've got to make an appointment. I'm like, what do you mean I got to make an appointment? Your quick lane's right here.
Yeah.
And there's nobody even here. There's the 2 oil techs are sitting there on a barrel, twiddling their thumbs, He's like, no, you got to make an appointment in order to utilize this service. And I'm like, all right, well, can I make an appointment? And he's like, yeah, yep. You can bring it back this afternoon. And, and we've got an opening this afternoon and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, so takes you like what, half hour, 45 minutes? Nope. Our appointment slots are for 4 hours. So you bring it, drop it off, and then you can come back in 4 hours and pick it up. And I'm like,
that's crazy.
No way. Are you freaking kidding me? And I'm like, well, how much is it just to get my oil change right now? Oh, $59.
Yeah.
I'm like, just change the oil. I don't have time to spend the entire day sitting here 4 hours.
That's crazy. 4 hours.
Making multiple. Who's got time to make multiple trips?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Get dropped off, picked up. Yeah.
I call him back, and I'm like, all right, here's the deal. We've had this truck for like under 6 months. Can we cancel this service plan? And they're like, oh no, there's no cancellation.
Yeah.
It's a done deal.
You're locked in. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
that
and I'm like,
like
all right, well, lost
$1,800.
So,
yep. All right, dudes, we're at our time limit. I'm getting the operators chiming in my ear to put more quarters in, so we're gonna call it quits.
There it is.
Denver. Denver Baker was all that was said when I introduced everybody at the opening here. Of course, everybody should know that you are MD Heat.
Yep.
On the socials.
Yep.
Owner of Mike Denver Heating.
MD Heat. Yep, but it does stand for Mike and Denver, even though Mike
there
is
you
out
go.
of out
well,
of
that's
picture.
what I was going for. MD Heat,
Yep.
Traverse City, Michigan.
The good old Northern Michigan. Yep, top of the mitt, tip of the mitt.
Andy, dude,
that's it.
Good call as always. Having the Denver Baker on the MD Heat stir. That's what we call you now.
There you go.
Hat's made up.
I'm trying to be on here as much as Chad.
Yeah, well, we can control that. We have total control over that.
Exactly.
So Chad's still listening right now.
That's right.
He probably isn't, but
Chad,
he's
if I need to send you my
track.
address for bribes and whatever, hot honey or whatever, Chad.
Yeah, his hot honey stuff. Yeah.
So he does honey, right? You guys know that, right?
Yeah.
I was at his house. He had me consult on a plumbing thing real quick for him a couple weeks ago.
And he sent,
he sent me home. He's like, "You want some honey?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I want some honey." Finally, he's been doing it for a while, and I didn't ever ask him for it, and I offered to buy it one time, but he wasn't ready to sell it.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's like, "Well, I'm going to send this home with you," and I'm like, he was just at our house the weekend before, and Heather sent a jar of pickles home with him. So I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm getting honey in trade for the pickles. I'm not even going to offer to pay you.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I called him after texting a mutual friend of ours, Josh Click. I'm texting Click, and I'm like, "Have you ever tried Chad's honey?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's really good." And I'm like, "Yeah." And so I actually called Chad. End of the day, I knew he'd be done working at least, because I was just rolling in to the Ani shop, and I'm like, "Chad, dude, your honey's friggin' awesome. Good job." I want to make sure he got it from me, word of mouth, and I was like, impressed as heck. It was so good. It is very good.
It's awesome.
Does he sell it on like Etsy or something? Or
I don't know what he's doing. He's so ADHD. He can't get. He asked me for tips and stuff on how to do that, and I'm like, giving him all these tips, and I don't know that he
told him how to flat rate his honey.
Yeah, well, basically, we were setting up all kinds of stuff. That's another episode. But if Chad is still listening, he's still upset that Patrick was on, and now Denver. This is your third time, right?
It is. Yeah, it's my third time.
Yeah. Well, maybe we have to have you on a couple more. We got to look back and see how many times Chad's been on.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys.
All right.
Thanks,
Everybody, leave us a note in over on our DMs. You can get to us right in your podcast app. There's a link directly to Andy's Instagram DM and mine as well. Send us a note. Let us know what you think. If you want to hear about specific topics or you have some ideas or feedback, we'd love to hear it. Denver, thanks for joining us. Andy, have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
Talk to you guys.
Always.
Stick around, Denver. Don't go anywhere.
See you.